I ended up with 5 cuts on my eye, a big bruise on my ribs, a lot of bruises on my both legs. I found out it was quite hard. Rothang, I have trained with Rothang also. That is before he became a sensation on one championship. And who knows when I'll get an opportunity to fight in Lumpinee again. So under that pressure, I took that fight. There's a saying in Thailand, like, we can teach you fighting, but we cannot give you heart.
Abhimanyu,
Hi,
thanks a
Ranjit.
lot. Hi, everyone. So thanks a lot for taking time out during your practice that you guys have currently going on. So tell me something about that currently. Like you guys, there's Ashish there, Anil there, Priya is there. So tell me something about the training camp before we start with the interview.
So it was like Anil reached out to me and he was like, he needed some help, with regarding Muay Thai. And we have been talking a lot, me and Anil, over the years. He has been like telling me from a long time that he wanted to come and train with me. So this time around, he finally got a few fighters like Priya and Ashish. Ashish had left back last week, but me, Priya, and Anil are still training here in Bajora, in Kullu. We are here at friend's place. Hyansh, he trains in cross train, I think, jiu-jitsu and all. He has actually participated in jiu-jitsu competitions also. So they are known to Anil. So it's like, I'm the new guy. Anil introduced me to everyone, to the group. And it's like, that's how we all got together and we are now training together.
Awesome. So great to see you, such great athletes training together. So coming to your journey, so how did you discover combat sports? Like how did you first come across it?
I think every kid comes across combat sport, not as a combat sports, but from Kung Fu and, Kung Fu karate, the movies, the Jackie Chan, Jet Li and all. Ever since I was young, I grew up watching those Kung Fu movies. So later on, when I was young, it was like I started with karate also, a little bit for some time. When I was in 10th, I was doing a little bit of boxing also. But that time, parents are like, it is just for leisure. Mm-hmm. You have to study for the boards and everything. So they never let me take it seriously, as a career option. But later on in life, I think I went to Thailand when I was 25. Because that time around, few bad decisions, few bad mistakes in my life. And, finally we sat down with the parents, see, I don't want my life heading this way. I don't like it. So maybe I should give it a go. And that's how I ended up in Thailand. I searched a lot. I planned to go to first China, but turns out too much investment, but I couldn't see, where, how much you can learn. Because when I was reading about Shaolin and everything, it's like 1 year you just learn forms, then 2 years, 3 years, and it is quite expensive. If you read about Shaolin, and training there is quite expensive. And then I was thinking about what to do next. Then Muay Thai was there, because I pretty much, like a martial arts fanatic. I read about everything from Kung Fu to karate in Japan, or Kali in Philippines, and Escriva. So it's like I've been searching a lot. Then I came around Thailand. They are actually practicing it, and you can actually test it out in the ring also, because Thai boxing was so popular. Mm-hmm. So that was the time I decided I'll actually go to Thailand and give it a go, and let's see how it happens.
Okay. So which
and
year
that's how my journey also started.
Which year was this?
I think the first time around I went to check out the gym was in 2010. Mm-hmm. That time I went for 2 months. I ended up in Sityotong team. It is Yosanan Sityotong is quite a legend in Muay Thai community also. So, and that time around we didn't have YouTube and anything. So it was like I was on the Muay Thai forum. There was a Muay Thai forum, and I was on it for a couple of months, talking to guys with other foreigners who had trained in Thailand over the period of time. A couple of them are still my friends on Facebook. So one of those guys, they had been training in Thailand for quite some years. They were there since 2002. So it was like I talked with them a lot. Then they helped me out where you can go, which gyms not to go. Because, when you start out, it's like, we want to go to the Thai gym, proper Thai gym. We want to train with the Thais. But when you actually go there, it is not that easy. Mm-hmm. Because language is a problem. Mm-hmm. And when you are in that kind of Thai gym, where they are training just Thais, you're an outsider. Now it's pretty much open, but that time around it's like, maybe he's around for fitness, and good training, bad training. You have no idea. You're just there. You're just trying to fit in. So
So
That's
how was
that.
that
So the first gym,
experience it would have been something completely new for you. You mentioned about the language problems, you mentioned about not being able to understand which is bad training, good training. So how was that whole shift of perspective for you?
so it happened like this. Ki the first gym I went to, it is Sityodtong. So Sityodtong is near Pattaya. So already a lot of foreigners were coming there to train because it has a lot of history because of Yotsan and Sityodtong. So that gym was okay because their trainers could speak English and little touristy with a legacy, but still okay for beginners. Anything is okay because I was just putting my left hand in. It was there that I met a foreigner from Australia. We became friends, and he had been training in Thailand. He had already fought in Thailand for a few years. So it was like the next time around, I went back on ED visa for 1 year. And that was the guy who was like, it's okay, you come. I'll take care of the lodgings and everything. I'll help you out with everything. I'll sort it out. When you reach, you will have a room, a place to stay and everything. So you make friends and then you just take one step again, ahead. You just keep moving forward, and that's how it went. We started training together, then we started talking together. He had more experience, so he was like giving me tips. We can go there to train, we can go there to train, and I used to go with him. Then I met another guy from the forum. Then he suggested me a trainer. He used to be in Bangkok. Then I talked with him. I actually had to take my language teacher from school to the STD, and I was like, please call him because he could speak very little English. Then she connected somehow. I went to Bangkok, from Bangkok to his village. It was adventure in itself. I was just like, I had time. Let's see, let's find out what happens. So that then I ended up in Isan area. I stayed there in a village with that trainer for 2 months. I had a fight there also, and then I ended up in Bangkok, and then I ended up in the gym called Sang Morocco Gym in Bangkok, and that's where I am currently. Also, it ended up being my home. And there also journey in the beginning, it was just like I'm a Falanga, not very touristy place, and not many a lot of foreigners used to come. Just few Japanese and Australians because the boss there had his connections, in Australia and Japan because he used to send trainers in these two countries. So a lot of fighters from Australia and Japan used to come in that gym to fight, train, and fight in Thailand. So since there was little bit influx of foreigners, trainers could speak little bit of English. That is, but very minimal English. But in the beginning, you just have to go with the flow. You don't have the luxury to make decisions. Oh, this good. You just take it what you get. Okay, at least I'm training. I have a place. That's how it was in the beginning. Let's go with the flow.
So how did you take that decision to start competing? You started training. Then what was that point when you decided that you need to step into the ring and compete?
Now, that decision was already made when I left for Thailand. If I go there to train, that's why I chose Muay Thai also, because in other places, like if you talk about these like Kung Fu or other traditional martial arts, they have a lot of training, but where to put, because they have that belt system, those only, it's not like actually combat, but just training, with the katas and everything. You can't really test yourself with that. So Muay Thai was the only thing which interested me because you could actually learn, and then you go into the ring and then you find out how much you have learned. So the decision was already made ki I'll go Thailand and I will fight. It just depended ki how much training do I take, and then when the first fight will happen. It was not about the question of if I'll fight or not. It was when I think I'm ready and when I can fight. That decision was already made before I left for Thailand.
Okay, so was your first Muay Thai fight in Thailand itself, or like had you competed in India before competing in Thailand?
No, I started out from zero. Like when I went from India, I had zero knowledge. Like all my training was like of karate in the past or boxing in the past. But when I went to Thailand, it was like starting from zero up. And it was like I trained for like first 3 months, 3 or 4 months. Like first time I went for 2 months. That time I trained. Then I returned after a couple of months. Then I sorted out the gym. I'll be training in this gym in Sityathong. Then I went back again. And that was the time when after 2 months, I had my first fight. which I won by KO. But it was an experience in itself. I ended up with 5 cuts on my eye, a big bruise on my ribs, a lot of bruises on my both legs. I found out it was quite hard.
but you still won.
Yeah, somehow.
Uh,
I guess first fights are not that hard. The levels are pretty much matched. So he was a Thai, I guess, out of shape Thai, because first fights, if you see like in Pattaya, Chiang Mai, or even down in Phuket, they're not at that top level. It's just like you. They check out the fighter's heart, if they have what it takes to fight or not. So first few fights are just like they check you if you can actually throw a punch, or if you're gonna get hit and run around the ring.
so this was
first
in
fight
2010.
fast, I won, but
Like was this also in 2010?
it was in 2011.
A year after you left for
Because
Thailand.
no, it was like 2010 in the end, like in November, December. I think I went for the first time. Then I returned. I applied for the papers for ED visa. I had actually already talked to a school in Pattaya and everything. In a couple of months, I got my papers, and I think in 2011 mid, I was back in Thailand.
So after 2011, after making your debut in Thailand with the KO win, so how has your journey progressed after that? Because I know like you fought a lot of Thai guys, you fought in Legendary Stadium. So how was that progression for you?
There were quite of highs and lows. Like I told you, like we started out in Sityothong. And I wanted to change the place. I wanted to explore more of the gyms and everything. And me and the Australian guy had plans that we will travel after 3 months to different locations and check out different gyms. But when the time came to travel, he had some issues in Pattaya, so he had to stay back. So then it was me who decided, okay, I'm going ahead with the program. I'm going to check out other gyms. Then with the help of the guy from the Muay Thai forum, I got in touch with the trainer. Then I ended up in Isan. Then I trained in Isan for 2 months. I stayed at his home because it was a lot cheaper, because if you stay in a city, it's a lot expensive. You have room rent, you have food expenditure, you have training expenditure. Because if you have to train in Thailand and if you are paying from the pockets, you have to find out cheaper options, unless you are a sponsored fighter. And that happened a long time after that, because that time I was just starting out. So that trainer was actually pretty good. Rambo, his name is Rambo Gokluk. In his prime, he had even fought Senchai, even beaten Senchai a couple of times, 2 times, I think. His career was, cut short because of an accident. So he stopped fighting when he was 21, 22. So he made a lot of impact. He taught me a lot because I was staying at his home. It was like one-on-one teaching, so it was a lot of tricks and of the trade key. Yeah, this is what Thai boxing is all about. Then after 2 months, Thai guys cannot trust him properly. we came to Bangkok. He ended up missing out with his girlfriend, but because of him, I ended up in Sangmora Court Gym, where he was training before. And the boss there actually was pretty nice, Jatui Sangmora Court. He was a promoter at Lumpinee. He's actually one of the promoters of Thai Fight. He was that time promoter in Muay Thai Stadium. So he was actually a very genuine kind of guy, because after a month, I was like, the expenditure in Bangkok is even more. Mm-hmm. So I was like, even the currency of India is not that key. We don't earn in dollars. So I asked him for help, and he was like, it's okay. You can train here for almost nothing, like 4,000, 5,000 baht I used to pay. And I could stay in the gym. I could eat in the gym. I could train in the gym. So pretty much that gym became my home. And from there on, it was like, first few fights are like, second fight I had in Isan. I won that with the KO. Then I came to Sangmora Court. Then I started fighting. Then first fight I fought in Hua Hin. The other fight was also in Hua Hin, which I won. Then came my first loss, because suddenly I was on a TV fight. And because and sometimes it's just you're tall, you're 70. I wanted to fight at 65, because my walk around weight was 70 or 68. When after training, I would come down to 68. But they were like, yeah, no, it's okay. Fight 72, fight 74. Some of the fights I had, they were big ass guys, and technically also they were they had more experience, they were stronger, and that's how I ended up with a broken nose, broken eye socket, broken jaw. I have a plate in my jaw last time. I broke my leg, but ups and downs. But I think I've a little bit more in my heart, and that's why I'm going back again this year, hopefully. Let's see.
So, what were some of the challenges that you faced while exploring this?
The foremost challenge we all face is financial challenge, because I didn't have sponsors. So one thing always on my mind is about how to mitigate the expenditure. And this time around, after the first 2 times when I was in Thailand, I could actually apply for ED visa, education visa. Then they stopped that for Indians. In the last 3-4 times, I've gone back to Thailand. Like I fought once, 2 times I couldn't fight because I developed an injury. Like when I broke my leg. Afterwards, when I went again to Thailand, turned out I had a fight booked in Rajdamnern. A fight booked in Rajdamnern Stadium, but 10 days before the fight, my leg started to pain a lot. I went to the doctor and he's like, the bone is not fully fixed, so take care. So the pressure becomes intense. Like when I fought in Lumpinee, the video I sent to you. Like when I got the fight, I was really excited. I'm fighting in one of the top stadiums. But the thing is, 4 or 5 days before my fight, I got really sick. And the thing is, my passport, my visa was also running out. Then it becomes the pressure of should I perform? Because if I go back and who knows when I'll get an opportunity to fight in Lumpinee again. So under that pressure, I took that fight. And turns out I didn't get well till the fight, and I could barely breathe in the fight. And that's when I broke my jaw also in the third round. When I got knocked out, I broke my jaw. And I could barely breathe. So can't be helped. Challenges come, you have to take them as it is, because sometimes you are not left with options. And that happens with like currently all Indian fighters who want to train in Thailand. The foremost issue is visa. We hardly get visa. We are treated as third world country, which we are. And then like now COVID cases is happening. Phuket is opening, but for a lot of countries, but not for Indians. So some are generic problems. Most are generic problems which Indians face, which is financial. The foremost. The second is visa. And not having other thing which bugs me the most is not having a good place to train when I'm back in India. I go to Thailand, I raise up my skills, but when I come back, I don't have a place to keep those skills intact. Like if I had a group like Anil, Ashish, Priya, and all, like 5-6 years back, then the gap which becomes between my travel between Thailand, my skill actually goes down because I have no one to prepare it or train with. And that's the main problem also. When I go back to Thailand, it's like restarting not from scratch, but still your body needs time to remember all those things. You have to clinch a lot, you have to train a lot, you have to find that flow back. So these are the problems, which I think all the fighters face.
So how was that experience of returning to India? And like, did you search for gyms here to train, or did you train alone when you returned to India?
Mostly I had been training alone. I tried reaching out, but it didn't work out with many of the gyms. Most are satisfied with their training, and I thought the first time around when I came back, I was thinking no, a lot of people, if I approach, a lot of people would be wanting my knowledge. That turns around, people are like, it's okay, they're satisfied with what they have. So I cannot push myself on them. No, please take me. Anil found out my name. I don't know how, but he's the only one who has been in touch with me, and then he got me in touch with you. So now finally my name is coming out. Even though I've been in this game for last 10 years, and I've been doing it in Thailand since day one. So
how did you meet with Anil?
Partly I am to blame. I couldn't promote myself.
So how did you meet with Anil actually?
Anil, I guess someone told Anil, because we are both from Himachal, and someone told Anil, there's another Himachali guy who had been doing this in Thailand. So he reached to me on Facebook, and since that day we have been in talks and everything. And this is the first time we actually got to train together. And let's see, we might end up in Thailand at the same time. So that will be the start of another journey.
So you've been part of this sport for like more than a decade now. So how do you think the
Yeah,
sport has grown in India? Like, what's your perspective on the Indian Muay Thai scene?
still a lot far to go, because if you see, it's not just about India. If 10 years back, you take example of Australia, you take example of China, even China and Japan. They had kickboxing, they had stand up and everything. But in Muay Thai, since their Muay Thai level was not up to the mark. But look at them now. And that is because their people there are investing heavily in importing Thai fighters, Thai trainers. And it's not like you get a Thai trainer for 2-3 months and suddenly you become a Thai fighter. You need to be invested for a long time. You need that because it takes a very long time to make a fighter. Either you can, what you can do, people can do is rich people, if you're listening to them, if you like a fighter, sponsor them, let them go out, let them train with the best, so that when they come back, if they have a team, he can raise the level of the team, and that's how usually, if you watch one championship, Elias, Bryce Deloise, they are both from France. I trained with both of them. Like Rothang, I have trained with Rothang also. That is before he became a sensation on one championship. Before Rothang, there was another, his gym mate, Yod Pramanung, who was the first one to fight in one from that gym. Now, then Rothang came, Nangnalek. So before then, it was Tiopiak and Panpiak, who were the famous names of that gym. I think one of them has also fought in one championship. So it's all about these guys from outside. They are sending their fighters. They have a solid team back home. They're sending their fighters to get experience in Thailand. They are sponsoring them. Then they are coming back and they are helping their teammates to raise their level. And then they have a good infrastructure. Here it's just like go there. We are kickboxing. Most of the people, throwing an elbow or a knee doesn't make you a Thai boxer. There's a lot of intricacies in Thai boxing. There's a clinch, like 50%. If you see nowadays, okay, the clinch is not the same as before, but still clinch is a clinch. Thai clinch is an art in itself. Here people is just like one elbow, one knee, okay, you call them Muay Thai. So I think we need a lot more to leverage, there are a lot of fighters who are training now in Thailand. So I think when they come back, they will bring back that knowledge, and slowly and steadily the level of fighters will go up only. And I think if trainers are there, I think they should also go to Thailand, learn more intricacies. They shouldn't be satisfied, okay, if we can. It's not just about holding pads. It's about holding pads with a purpose. It's just not 1, 2, 3, 4 kick, 1, 2, 3, 4 kick. Like that's what happens in Thailand also. If you go to like randomly one day you decide, I'm going to go to the gym in Thailand, I'm going to train there. It's not like that Thai trainer will take you seriously, because you don't know good training from bad training. What if he makes you kick like 100 times and punch like 1,000 times? Okay, you are tired, but what are you taking back home with you? Nothing. It's just like cardio, he's burning you out and then finish. A good coach will tell you, okay, what happens, the intricacies of how to set up, how to go from one flow to another flow, what the opposition is thinking. There's a lot of things in fighting, be it combat, boxing, wrestling. I think the only two combat sports who are at peak level in amateur in India is what respect is boxing and wrestling, Other than that, I don't think there's anything which can be compared. Okay, it is international level. Because we have top grade wrestlers. They're not, we have top grade amateur boxers, not professional boxers, because that thing is missing. When you turn from amateur to pro, it's different kind of environment, different kind of training, So that's the thing which is still missing in India. And maybe we need to be more, not focused on India's best. If we need to compare, if your aim is to reach at the higher level, you need to keep focused, international level. You need to be more in tune with the international level. You cannot be satisfied, okay, we are a national champion, okay, that's done. I don't think so that counts anywhere in these times, unless Indian national champions are winning world titles and everything, then it is a thing of pride. Okay, national champion counts for something. And I guess that's why national medalists in boxing and wrestling are, they have some respect because they can actually go to Olympics and they actually outshine others from different countries. Other than that, I don't think so. Any other sport is on that level, at least in combat.
So you mentioned about returning to Thailand. So is that your immediate and long-term future plan, returning to Thailand and competing? And have you ever thought about starting some coaching center in Himachal to convey the knowledge that you have attained?
Of course, that was always a part of the plan, but not so soon because there were things I couldn't figure out myself. I'd been training in Thailand, but language barriers sometimes. There was few flaws in the game. That's why I was losing also. And I didn't want to teach till the time I figured out what was going wrong with me, Only now this is the time when I think, okay, I finally found out the flaws, and that's why Anil is also here. That's why I'm also trying to up his game because we face the same problems in the starting all fighters. I'm not teaching him how to kick, how to punch. I'm just tweaking his techniques so that it fits on the elite level because I have seen them. It is minor adjustments you have to make to the simple things, which differentiates average from elite. The kick is the same kick. Roundhouse is the same roundhouse. The punch is the right punch is the same right punch. But fast timing, speed, and the setup. This is what separates an average fighter who is just throwing for the sake of throwing it, and the one who actually engages with a plan in mind. Okay, this is how it will go, and this is how I'll trap him, and this is how I'll end it. So these are the things which I couldn't figure out. Now I think I'm ready. That's why I want to go back and put it into action, and let's see. And of course, because the Muay Thai was not just financial purpose, because I didn't open because Shimla is pretty expensive city also. And if you get invested in something, then you have to be there all the time. Then I cannot work on my mistakes because I'm already, at a high level to the people who are coming to, learn from me. I need to be around people with whom my flows come out, and so that I can work on them. So I've been studying a lot, watching a lot of videos, thinking, zoning out, what is actually happening, why I cannot perform at that level of find nuances, in the fight game. I've been trying to solve those, and finally, I think I've solved those. So I think I need to put it in action. Then I can feel comfortable. Okay, now I can actually, I'll feel good to teach. Okay, I can, when the student has a query, why I cannot do this thing, I think now I can handle every query. Otherwise, before if I had an open gym, when I didn't know answers to a few questions, how could I, solve them for the others, the students who come to me for learning. I think the foremost thing for me till now was first gather the answers yourself, put it into action, and then I think I'll be qualified to teach. And I think after next year, the other plans will come into action.
Awesome. So do you have any message for the upcoming Muay Thai fighters or people who will be viewing this video before we close?
Train hard. If you have plans to go to Thailand, run a lot. Because if you don't have skill, if you don't have technique, if you have a lot of cardio, that still helps. There's a saying in Thailand, like, we can teach you fighting, but we cannot give you heart. So I believe Indian fighters have a lot of heart. So they just need to focus on training, and if they get the opportunities, and I'll like to ask those rich people who are into combat sports, if you see a fighter, you like a fighter near your place, sponsor them, help them go out, help them train, so that when they come back, they can elevate the game of all the people of their team. I think that will be all for now.